Oh, wait. Let's talk about something that's, well, it's one of the most important things we can ever teach our kids, but we get it wrong so often. We're talking about money. The lessons they learn now or don't learn will literally shape their entire future. So, yeah, we've got to get this right. So, you got to ask yourself and be honest, are we actually setting our kids up to fail? Are the things we're teaching, or maybe the things we're avoiding, actually preparing them for the real financial world? Because when you look at the data, it's pretty clear we have a huge problem on our hands. Okay, get this, 57%. That's how many American adults can't even pass a super basic 5-question financial literacy quiz. Let that sink in for a second. That means more than half the parents raising kids today might not have the fundamentals down themselves. And, well, this is what happens. $145,000, that's the average debt for a U.S. household. This isn't just some number on a screen, you know. This is real stress, real pressure on millions and millions of families. So what is going on here? Where are we messing this up? And here's the kicker, the part that might surprise you. The real issue isn't a lack of information. It's not about a lack of knowledge. The real problem is all about timing and psychology. We're teaching the right stuff way too late, and we're completely ignoring how our brains are actually wired to handle money in the first place. So that brings us to our first section. We're going to dive into why our old methods, the way most of us were probably taught, just completely missed the mark. We're going to break down what I called the knowledge trap. So look at this. On the left, you got the old school way, right? It's all about just dumping facts and figures on a teenager in a high school class and hoping some of it sticks. But the modern approach, what we know now, it's totally different. It's about building habits. It's about shaping behaviors and beliefs. And you have to start super early. Because money isn't just math, it's emotion. And this timeline just lays it all out, crystal clear. Look at that massive gap. Our kids' core money habits, their feelings about money, it all gets wired in between ages 3 and 7. But when do we start formally teaching them? High school. It's like a decade too late. We're literally trying to put the roof on a house that doesn't even have a foundation yet. It makes no sense. And hey, don't just take my word for it. This comes from major research out of the University of Cambridge. They found that by age 7, the programming that's going to run a person's entire financial life is pretty much sought. That window to make a real difference, it opens and closes way earlier than most of us ever thought. Okay, so if the old way is totally broken, what do? What actually works? That's what Section 2 is all about. This is your practical age-by-age pre-book. First up, the little ones, ages 3 to 5. And here's the big secret. Forget about teaching them math. Don't worry about counting coins. The single most important financial skill they can learn right now is patience. It's all about delayed gratification. We've all heard of the marshmallow test, right? Well, the ability to wait for a bigger reward, that is the number one predictor of financial success down the road. It's huge. So, how do you actually do that? Well, it's about simple, everyday things. You practice weight training, like waiting a few minutes before they can open a birthday present. You help them understand choices. But if you get this story, it means you can't get that one. You start talking about how you earn money by going to work. And in the store, you can just point out why a big box of crayons costs more than a small one. Simple, right? All right, moving on. Ages 6 to 8. Now they're ready for some real hands-on experience. They're old enough to actually see and feel the whole money cycle, from getting it to thinking about what to do with it, to spending it, to then thinking about their chores. And this is where the classic three-jar system is just perfect. It's brilliant because it makes budgeting, this totally abstract idea, something physical they can see and touch. You got one jar for saving, one for spending, and a really important one for giving. It forces them to make a conscious choice with every single dollar. It's not just disappearing under a plastic card. Okay, now we're hitting the preteen years, 9 to 12, and this is a big deal because their brains are making a huge leap. They can start to understand more abstract ideas. So we can finally move past the physical jars and start talking about more complex money stuff. So the conversations get a little more advanced here. You can use a sale at a store to explain percentages. You can help them budget for a much bigger goal, like that new bike that's going to take months to set up for. You can introduce this almost magical idea of investing, that their money can actually go out and work to make more money. And this is a great turn to start including them in really simple family budget talks. It demystifies the whole process. And then we've got the teens. The goal here is pretty simple. We're moving from the controlled practice environment to the real world, but with a safety net. The training wheels are coming off. This is like their financial boot camp before they launch into the world. They absolutely need to open and manage a real checking account with a debit card. They should be earning their own income, not just getting an allowance. Maybe they can even start a small custodial investment account. And here's the most important one. They need the freedom to make some small, recoverable money mistakes now so they don't make the huge, life-altering ones later. All right, so we've got the whole age-by-age plan down. But to make it all work, there's this one powerful idea from behavioral economics we have to get. It's basically about how to hack our own brains to win with money. So I want you to meet the number one enemy of your savings goals. It's called present bias. And we are all hardwired with this. It's that voice in your head that screams, I want the small reward now rather than waiting for a bigger one later. It's why we'll grab that fancy coffee today, even though we know we're trying to sit up for a vacation. And just trying to use willpower to fight it, well, that's a losing battle most of the time. And this is the secret. You don't fight present bias head on with willpower, you outsmart it. You design a system where saving is the easy, automatic, default option. You set up automated transfers to your savings account the day you get paid. You use apps that round up your purchases and invest the change. The key is to teach your kids and yourself to build systems that make the right choice the lazy choice. So, let's say we do all this. We start early, we focus on behavior, we build smart systems. What's the end game? What does a financially successful adult actually look like? What's the payoff? Well, first, success looks like this. It's not about being cheap or never having fun. It's about being intentional. It's about making financial decisions that actually line up with your real goals and values, instead of just impulsively reacting to an ad or what your friends are doing. And number two, it looks like resilience. Look, everybody makes money mistakes. I do, you do, we all do. The goal isn't to be perfect. The goal is to raise kids who see a mistake not as a disaster, not as a sign that they're a failure, but as data. It's just a lesson. You learn from it, you adjust, and you move on. Because at the end of the day, teaching our kids about money, it's really about giving them the power to write a totally new story for themselves, a story about confidence and competence and freedom. So I guess the only question left for you is, what financial story is your family going to write?